Alright guys, I got another quick tip for you today, and this is on a Ford 500, and they're all basically the same from '05 to 2007, and they all have the same issue, and it may not come up for a while, but you definitely want to look at it and take care of it if it's on the verge of failing before it leaves you stranded, or worse, dies out in the middle of the intersection. So this one came in, it just basically kept dying out, and they finally had it towed. And no, it's not the throttle body. I know it's very common on these, and that'll actually cause the engine to stall and the same kind of symptoms. But the codes I had in it were for PO320, which is the crank signal, and a couple of different primary codes for the ignition coils themselves, and that all looked okay. And so I just concentrated on the crank signal issue, and there's a known issue with the harness rubbing on the AC line. So I went after that first, and lo and behold, the actual crank wires, the two wires are a twisted pair that run back to the PCM, which is in the cowl here under the wipers. It actually was the victim of the chafe. It was the first one on the bottom of the wire harness, and it chafed right through. It was grounding out intermittently, cutting off the crank signal and cutting the engine off. Okay, so over here by the power steering reservoir and the vapor management valve, which is usually on the bracket right here, and there's some lines going to it and all that, and then there's a big strut brace that goes across. Once you get all that off, you come over here and look, and there it is, the harness right there, and it rests right on top of this AC line, and over time, from vibrations, it just chafes right into it. Now what will actually happen is that it'll sit there and the engine will move, and it'll actually rub back and forth, and over time, in mileage, it'll actually rub right through the actual electrical tape on there, and then the protective convolute tubing. You see this one rubbed right straight through, and it was after that rubbing directly into the wires and pulling their insulation off, which causes the short and it to die out. Okay, so it's a design flaw for sure to have it rubbing on this AC line with actual downward force pressure. It's big old harness right here as the engine moves back and forth and vibrates. The '04 F-150s, when they changed them over to new body style, had the same issue, same corner, rubbing on the AC line also, causing I think it was injector or ignition coil primary codes. So what I do is I go in here and I pull it away from there, and I fix whatever's damaged under here, and then I wrap it back up with convolute and tape, and then what I use on here is actual friction tape, but I don't put it back down in this same spot because it's going to rub through the friction tape even at that point, because it's just too much vibration and roughness. Now this one of course did it all the way through because it has 204,000 miles on it, but yours may be starting to do it, and you don't want to definitely have any issues with stalling. So what I do after I fix it, the whole harness here, fix the wires and all that, is I'll actually bring it up along the side here, and it's about the same twists and curves that it goes through, but being over there, going out and then curving up. So I guess the best thing to do is preventative maintenance on the harness to make sure it doesn't chafe through in the first place. What I would do is, if you aren't experiencing any issues, to fix this harness before it becomes an issue and stalls you out going down the road. Just tape it up, make sure there's no wires chafed, and then reposition it is the most important part, and getting away from any kind of chafe points over here, because this is the main engine harness that all the sensors and anything the PCM controls is coming through this one little piece of harness here. So we start messing with the multiple areas of it, we can definitely have a stall, especially if the crank sensor wires are just happen to be wrapped in the bottom of the harness where the chafe point occurred, like this one was. So it can definitely cause a lot of issues, and it only takes a couple minutes to get down in there, reposition it, check for a chafe, and wrap it back up, and it should be safe and good to go then.